Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Are you confused about the laundry list of things you're going to need to know before selecting an advisor to handle your retirement? Well, stay tuned to find out more.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the Worry-Free Retirement, with your host, best-selling author and fiduciary, Tony Walker.
Let's imagine for a second that you are that person who has slaved away at work for the past 30 or 40 years, saving as best you can so that one day you can quit work and retire. Whether that's you planning to retire soon or you're that person who has been retired for years, one thing is for certain: the decision of when to retire is the most important and stressful financial decision one will ever face. And while I would agree that when to retire is a huge decision, close behind, in second place, is another crucial decision: who are you going to trust with your money? But there's a problem. With a laundry list of options available today as to where to invest your money and who to trust with it, what is a saver to do? Who are you supposed to trust before handing over your money? Well, here's a laundry list of options to consider. You can do nothing and just leave your money with your former employer and let them handle it. You could blindly roll it over to a complete stranger you just met who talks a good game about retirement planning. How about this one? You could do what more and more people are doing, Googling around on the internet in hopes that someone there will have some answers. And finally, you could run on over, like a lot of savers do, to the local bank and see if the guy down the hall can help you with your retirement. Yes, the laundry list of options of where to invest your life savings and who to trust with it are endless. Yet, with so many advisors representing so many financial institutions all anxious to handle your money, the $20,000 question is, how do you know if they're offering you what's in your best interest? Well, today, I have great news, as we are going to share with you the most important meeting you will ever have with an advisor in determining what to do with your money and who to trust with it. Well, welcome, folks, to the Worry-Free Retirement. And with us in the studio this morning, all the way from Bowling Green, my fellow fiduciary, Miss Heather Hughes. First of all, Heather, thank you for making the drive from Bowling Green to Louisville today.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad to be back on the show.
Well, we're glad to have you back. And usually I don't ask staff to be on this frequently, but I got to tell you a quick story. I'm in a local taco joint several months ago there in Bowling Green, and a gentleman comes up, and I can tell when somebody's kind of like, I think I know you, and stops, and real nice fella, and he goes, "Are you that guy on TV?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "Who was that lady you had on the other day?" And I'm thinking, lady? And then I thought of you. I said, "Heather Hughes?" And he goes, "Yeah, Heather." He goes, "No offense, but you need to have her on more often." So I said, "Well, we'll get her back on, sir. No problem." But yeah, it's so important because we're getting ready to talk about one of the most important meetings a saver is going to have on retirement, and that's who to trust with your money. And we're going to go into detail today about what we call our second appointment, the assessment. But first, before we get into that, I'd like you to share real briefly your role at Tony Walker Financial, your history, and then our passion for really making sure our saver clients truly understand what it is they're getting ready to do with us.
Oh, sure. So as you mentioned, I'm a fiduciary as well as you. Came on the firm about 15 years ago. I've got a background in accounting with a degree in there. I think you originally hired me to do some tax research for you.
That's right. Yeah.
That morphed into really assisting you with sharing the story of retirement with clients. So the initial steps were I was developing just spreadsheets by hand to per clients. We were tailoring that to their individual needs. And then just on the sheer volume of the number of people we were seeing and things like that, we developed the proprietary software that we have today. And that has really just been a valuable tool in communicating with clients how retirement can work for them.
Yeah, and it's not a retirement calculator. I don't think people understand the it takes what I've learned over the years, we develop the plan, and then we put that in the software. It's very, very unique to the industry. I've seen great spreadsheets, and there's all kinds of retirement calculators. But as we're going to find out today, there's nobody, I don't think, that puts in the time and then is able to explain how this money's going to work, how you're going to use and enjoy it. And what are we up to? Over probably 5,000 of these game plans we've put together at least. Can you imagine if you were doing these by hand? Well, you wouldn't be. You still wouldn't be here.
I would. It would be rough. But no, and that's the thing. I mean, the way we're different is we are taking a holistic approach to looking at retirements. We're not saying, oh, here's your 401k, do X with it.
Yeah.
We're looking at what their goals are and their other assets and see how we can get their dream of retirement to come to life.
Oh, it's a good way to put it. So yeah, folks, what we're going to be talking about today, we have a 5-step process. Our 5 steps are as follows. Of course, we help clarify your vision. The second appointment process, the assessment, is what we'll talk about today. The third step, as you're going to find out, that's your job. You're to commit to the process. We're not going to rush you in that decision. I mean, let's face it. You know, Heather, we talked about that during the radio show. We just recorded the radio show. We had a little fun with some math. I said, what if, Heather, somebody worked 35 years, they worked 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year, I don't know how many hours that is, thousands and thousands of hours of work and saving money for retirement.
Blood, sweat, and tears.
Blood, sweat, and tears. I mean, thousands of hours. And then we see people rush out and in 30 minutes or an hour turn their life savings over to a complete stranger. It's beyond, I don't understand it. So folks, if that's you right now, if you're sitting there saying, yeah, I don't have a process, I don't have somebody that can help me commit to a process, I don't have somebody that can help me implement the process, and certainly I don't have anybody helping me monitor this thing, that's where we're going to help you. But more importantly, what we're going to talk about today is that second step called the assessment. So when I return, myself and Heather, this is going to be good stuff. We're going to show you in detail how much time Tony Walker Financial puts into your plan before you make any decisions to move forward. Good stuff coming your way. You're watching the WorryFree Retirement. We'll be right back. Have you recently retired, been laid off, or offered a pension buyout? Has the company you work for moved, been acquired, or closed its doors forever? And finally, do you have a 401k with a previous employer you'd like to move to safer territory? Then take advantage of this opportunity to move your 401k or lump sum pension to Tony Walker Financial. Let's meet in person to discuss your retirement options. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to schedule your free, no obligation appointment. Let us help you today. Welcome back to the WorryFree Retirement. Tony Walker here, and our theme is laundry list, and specifically the amount of laundry list and items you need to think about whether you're retired, retiring soon, or long into retirement. Oh, speaking of laundry list, I'm with our fellow fiduciary out of Bowling Green, Heather Hughes. Again, thank you so much for joining us. Heather, you enjoying this show so far?
Having a good time.
And what was funny before we went on, we were talking about the laundry list and all that. Our own Derek Hudson, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed over there. What did you ask about laundry list, Eric?
Well, I was wondering, what is a laundry list?
Yeah, and then I'm sure you do a lot of your own laundry at home. You don't have a laundry list, or how do you handle laundry at home? What do you do?
Oh, I just throw all the colors and the whites together and pour some bleach, and that's about it.
Okay, well, since I thought there might be somebody out there, heaven forbid, that doesn't know what a laundry list is, I'm going to go right now to America's favorite financial sidekick, Aaron Orander. And Aaron, give it a whirl, partner. What is the history of these laundry lists?
So Tony, in the 19th century, more than 2,000 U.S. patents were filled for washing machines, and the local laundromat became a staple of many neighborhoods. But with all those customers needing lots of garments cleaned, they needed some sort of organization to tell whose clothes belonged to who and who needed to be charged for different services the laundromat offered. So by the 1860s, itemized lists had become a big hit, hence the term laundry list.
All right, thank you, Aaron. Back to the show. All right, we're talking about our 5-step process. What is it? Well, this process is geared towards helping savers. It's a process I created years ago, and with the help of a large staff, and specifically Heather Hughes, we're focused on that assessment situation, this appointment, the second meeting that we have with people. And many of you are not having more than one meeting with advisors. You're rushing into things, as we'll see, but just how important it is. So Heather, you and I have talked about this a lot, how quickly we see people that just kind of rush in to these huge, huge financial decisions.
Oh, I know. It's kind of crazy. You've worked so long, as you mentioned earlier, and to make a split-second decision on something that's going to impact the rest of your life, it's a little scary. You want to, approach it with kid gloves.
Yeah, and we were talking about options earlier on the show. One of the options is to Google on the internet, which I actually did that. I won't name the firm. They do a lot of advertising on the internet. I love this. This is called the 15-minute retirement plan. I'm thinking, and then I looked through all this stuff. I mean, you couldn't do any planning with this report, so it's kind of nonsensical. But this was actually the one I wanted to cover. This was funny. The other option is to go to the local bank, and I call it the down the hall syndrome. Sometimes they'll take you down the hall to an investment person. Again, nothing wrong with that. But I had someone come in the other day, I think I showed you this, and they said, well, the gentleman told me to invest in X. And I said, well, was there any work or game plan done? I hold in my hands a copy. Derek, can we put that up? Look at that. Okay, so what's funny about this, it's an indexed annuity. I don't know what this looks like something my granddaughter Scout would do. I'm not sure what that pyramid over there is, and in 5 minutes, she said it took about 5 minutes for him to doodle this out. He was wanting me to invest money. And she said, well, I don't know if I want an annuity. You got anything else? Derek, next slide. Oh, yeah. It's kind of like the hired gunslingers, pulling out financial products. He said, how about this? Now, this goes from a fixed indexed annuity. Now we're talking about mutual funds. Are you seeing that, Heather?
I'm seeing it.
And look at that. I said, did he say that there's a almost 4% sales charge up front? She said, never said anything about that. So, folks, here's the thing. When you're out here and you're sharing your information with people, how do you know if it's somebody that's really working in your best interest? One of the ways you know that is the amount of time they spend with you. So we're going to go through something here fairly quickly, but Heather, I want us to really slow this down, because what people don't realize is a lot of times when they meet with me, and I have to watch my schedule, I meet for about 30 minutes and then I'll have a second appointment, etc. But even some people will say, well, Tony, I kind of felt rushed. And I think about that when I first started years ago. Well, number one, I didn't really have a process. And what I would do is spend an hour, hour and a half with people and try to do calculators. And now that we have this process, what they're going to see is there is a method to our madness. There is a reason that I spend the limited time on the front end, and throughout the process, I continue to be engaged with the client. So let's talk about this first one here. Let's total up our time. The initial phone call. Explain what happens when people watch a show like this and call Tony Walker Financial.
So people reach out to us. They usually get Shanna in our office, say that they either want to meet in person or by phone. Shanna will direct them or mail them our starter kit. That's kind of our laundry list of what we need to get the process started.
And let's talk about that starter kit, because that's really important. Go through why that is so important, that we have a laundry list of documents that we would like to see, again, so that we can, as fiduciaries, provide a proper plan.
We like to hold ourselves out as holistic advisors. So we're looking at the entire picture of retirement versus, oh, here's your 401k, we're going to do X with it. Just plop it into that fund that you saw, before. So in order to kind of build out a plan to, carry you through the rest of your life, we need to see basically everything. And we want to look at all of the different financial accounts that you have, your Social Security statements, your tax returns. All of that factors into how we structure that retirement plan for the clients.
Yeah, I used to say to people, it's interesting, people say, why do you need all that information? Well, it's like going to a doctor. If you went to a doctor with a problem and he didn't take x-rays or draw blood, you'd almost think that's kind of peculiar. Or get a medical history. Well, the same way you sometimes have to take your clothes off in front of the doctors, we call this taking off your financial clothes. Folks, here's the thing. If you don't do this now and get your affairs in order, one day when you pass or go in a nursing home, somebody's going to have to see all this stuff. So why in the world wouldn't you get it organized? So that takes roughly, let's go back to the screen, takes about 20 minutes, and we haven't even met with them yet. The next thing, let me describe this, since I know you have some first appointments. People are shocked when they see and they come into the office that they're meeting with the owner of the company, Tony Walker, and yes, I almost schedule all of those appointments. I had 23 appointments just yesterday in our Louisville office. I've got, I think, 7 or 8 today. I love meeting with people, and folks, I'm really good in this first appointment, figuring out what is going on and how we're going to be able to help you. So that's about 30 minutes. So then, now take it from there. What happens in the planning meeting, because you get involved in those?
Absolutely. So, that first appointment, it's the fact finder. So you're gathering all of that information, bringing it back we have a planning meeting with the staff. So Lisa Allerkamp, Leanne Tinsley.
Sometimes Mandy.
Sometimes Mandy. And then the two of us get involved and we discuss the case and start to lay out recommendations. From there, we move on.
Yep.
Lisa will.
Now this is where it really gets.
Yeah, this is where the rubber meets the road. So this is what I used to do. We've kind of, delegated that to Lisa and Leanne now, and they're laying out the plan in our proprietary software. That can take a couple hours, depending on the complexity of the plan, even a little bit longer than that. Once that's kind of initially put together, Lisa and I put eyes on it again just to kind of double check to make sure that it's accomplishing the goals that we'd originally set out to meet. At that point, the binder's assembled and then moving on to just the second appointment with the client.
Yeah, so let's stop right here. So right now, before even the second appointment, we're up to 3 hours, and now you add in the second appointment, which generally was with me. Now we're up to roughly 3 hours and 50 minutes. So, and we haven't even asked the client to buy anything. This is what shocks people, Heather. I think as I see people, for number one, they start getting nervous because they think, oh, here comes the close, here comes the sale. And what's shocking after the second appointment when I tell people is now, more than likely, I'm assuming you're going to want to put some thought into this. Sometimes people are ready to move forward. But most people go, well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I want to study this and look at it. So let's go to the next step. And then I'll usually mark in the file, and guess what? Yep, tell everybody a little bit about that follow-up call that you have with those folks after they take home the binder to study it.
Right. Typically, I'm following up in a week or so just to clarify any questions that they have on the plan. Sometimes it even goes longer than 20 minutes, and we'll get into the weeds on the plan. So that second appointment, you're going to kind of initially through the plan, and then I'm kind of fine-tuning and explaining on the very end on that follow-up call. And sometimes they need another appointment, which is fine. Sometimes they need a fourth appointment, also fine. I mean, this is a huge decision for people, and they shouldn't feel rushed into moving forward until they're ready.
Yeah, I know we had a gentleman that recently worked with us last year. I met him, he even came to the Bowling Green office. He was out of Louisville. I met with him a total of 5 times before he finally made a decision. Now that's quite a few appointments, but that was fine. He had quite a bit of money. This was his life savings. He said, Tony, I'm not going to rush this thing. I want to make sure I understand it. Apparently he had started meeting with other people. Well, they were starting to blow him off because he wouldn't make up his mind. And I said, you take your time. Of course, he became a client. So folks, if you're sitting there saying, yeah, I do feel like that. I feel like when people get my money, I don't hear from them, or I feel rushed, or they're making me feel stupid. They're not really giving me anything. Or worse yet, they won't even show anything unless you commit to buying something, which is preposterous. Here's what you need to do right now. Log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Click on that Let's Get Started button. There's no cost or obligation. Let's just take a look at your situation, take you through our process, let you see the difference Tony Walker Financial can make in helping you worry less about money. Okay, we just got a few minutes left. Got to take a quick break, Heather, because when I come back, I'm going to show the 3 types of things you can do with money and why this window of opportunity, we had a great Tony in the Trenches, is so important. Folks, I'll be right back. You stay tuned.
And now it's time for the adventures of Stella, the Black Russian Terrier. You've been watching the adventures of Stella, the Black Russian Terrier.
With the stock market at all-time highs and our nation's debt through the roof, there's a lot of uncertainty out there. Now may be the best time to safeguard more of your 401k. Let's get started today by logging on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement as we talk about this retirement laundry list. I hope this has been helpful. Heather, we got a few more minutes. I think this has been some good stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, now this gets Pretty cool. For the remaining time, this was an interesting Tony in the Trenches. If you watched our prior episodes, which incidentally are on youtube.com, you can go to youtube.com, type in Tony Walker Financial, because we talked a lot about this window of opportunity, Heather. And the question basically reads, I found this very enlightening, Tony, can you be more specific about why this is such a window of opportunity? And so what I thought I would do is show this tax bracket graphic that Derek just worked on. So can kind of explain to the viewing audience, we're in this second appointment. Many times we come back with our assessment and we start getting into these tax planning ideas that are sometimes just blow people away. They didn't know they could do a lot of this stuff. So why is this graphic so important in our process?
Well, we don't want to do anything that would potentially push them into a higher tax bracket needlessly. So a lot of times there's opportunities if they're just inside a tax bracket, there might be some opportunity to either make some changes, maybe take some capital gains off the table, something like that, that might not cost them much more in taxes. So we really kind of want to look at that situation. Another reason we need that tax return on that first appointment.
Good point. And put that back up there, Derek, if you would, please. So as you see these, folks, you have to understand something. I've been in this 37 years. These are some of the lowest tax brackets I can remember. I mean, this is crazy that some of you, especially in these lower incomes, under $172,000, I mean, a lot of you fall into this, even if you had to pay a marginal rate on some of your money at 22%. I mean, I can remember 38, 42% back in the 50s and 60s. It was in the 70, 80% range. So you have to ask yourself this question. Do you think taxes will be higher or lower in the future? If you say, Tony, I would think higher, then we need to talk and understand this graphic. Now, as we think through, when we're doing our planning, we're constantly trying to figure out how we can put more money in your pocket. We go to this graphic. Derek, and I love this little, I don't know if you've seen this. Have you seen this?
We've talked about this over a long time over the years, but I like the new graphic.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Derek, so folks, you can either save this money, that is the money that even though you're in a lower tax bracket, you can just leave it there in your 401k and see what's going to happen to the taxes later. You can spend it, one of my favorites, and then another area you can give it. So what we do, Heather, explain in the limited time we have available how we can go in and help them determine how much of that they can either spend or give away now versus waiting to see how much is going to be taxed later.
Well, sure. We look at that income plan that we've built out for the clients, see how much room we've got within those tax brackets, and just see what they want to do. You know, do they want to buy a new boat, you know, like Gina would or something like that?
Buy a bigger boat.
Or, you know, they've got grandkids and that might be going to college or, you know, there's lots of things, you know, help children out with homes or whatever to give away. So, yeah, we just kind of need to talk to the client, see what their needs and wants are, and we can adjust it accordingly.
Yeah, so folks, if that's you, if you're sitting there saying, Tony, nobody ever talks to me about taxes and putting more money in my pocket or giving more away or spending money. Everybody just wants me to keep growing. I don't understand why that is. Well, because they're not probably working in your best interest. And we are at Tony Walker Financial. So if we can be of help to you, you log on right now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com or just call the toll-free number on your screen. Okay, we're talking about laundry list. Did you realize there's a huge list of laws in the Bible that is longer than any laundry list you could come up with, and how you can overcome failing at some of these laws that are in the Bible? Good stuff coming your way. I'm Tony Walker. I'll be right back. Who can you trust? It's one of the most important decisions you'll have to make. Question is, are you ready? Well, we're here to help at Tony Walker Financial. You know, we care more about you than we do your money, and we have over 2,000 happy clients and an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau to prove it. Rolling over a 401k, confused about Social Security, maybe you're afraid of running out of money. Learn how to use and enjoy and protect your hard-earned money. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and let's get started. They're called the 10 Commandments. It's a laundry list of God's laws that mankind is expected to follow. And since our theme today has been the laundry list of things savers need to do to consider following the commands of a financial world anxious to invest their money, I thought it would be interesting to see what God had in store for those attempting to keep His laws before Christ came to earth and those attempting to do so after his death. Now, let's get something straight here. The Ten Commandments is and always will be God's holy law, yet as hard as we humans try to follow it and keep these laws, in the end, on our own, we can't. Think the financial world is full of know-it-alls? You ain't seen nothing yet. Take a look at one of the biggest religious know-it-alls of his day, the Apostle Paul, who, after a chance encounter with God's Spirit, had this to say about those who think they can keep God's laws. Romans 3:27 says, "Where then is boasting? It is excluded. By what kind of law? Of works? No, by a law of faith." You see, Paul realized that working hard at pleasing God by trying to keep his laws was a losing proposition. Don't believe me? Look at what happened to him when he tried to do so in Romans 7:7 and 7:8. Basically, Paul discovered that the more he tried not to covet, that was one of God's laws, the more he longed for other stuff, see what I mean? The more he actually broke God's laws and coveted even more. Kind of like when you tell your child to not touch an oven, what do? Yep, they try to touch it. So Paul is reminding us that there is nothing wrong with the law. It's still holy and good. It's sin that's the real culprit. The law simply reminds us that on our own and without God, we're dead meat. And therein lies the good news found in Romans 3:28. For we maintain that a man is justified by faith apart from works, there is no law. In other words, we don't need more of the guilt trip gospel offered up by man. What we need is more of God. We don't need know-it-alls providing a laundry list of things we are supposed to do with our money. What we need is competent advisors helping us use and enjoy this money before it's too late. Because in the end, know this, my friend, whether you have $1 million or just a few bucks in your pocket, you really aren't going to be able to take this stuff with you. As I like to say, in the end, we're all going to die broke. And if that's you, if your advisor is not providing you with a written game plan, something you can understand, if the advisor talks down to you or makes you feel stupid about this stuff, well, my advice is grab your wallet and get the heck out of there, because there are people just like us at Tony Walker Financial who will treat you and your money with dignity and respect, and we will take the time to make sure you understand what it is you're going to be investing in before you make the move. Best of all, there's never a commitment on your part. All you have to do is get on the website right now for a free time to visit with me or one of our trained fiduciaries. You just want to log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com or call the toll-free number on your screen. Now, here's how this is going to work. If you log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and click on the Let's Get Started, that information is confidentially sent to our offices in Bowling Green, Kentucky. We will then immediately follow up with a phone call to determine if we need to meet by phone or if it warrants. We will be happy to talk with you in person at either our Bowling Green, Louisville, or Lexington, Kentucky offices. So do it now. Log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com or call the toll-free number on your screen. Well, we hope you've enjoyed today's program. We've certainly enjoyed being with you, but you remember, between now and next week, if all else fails, you be worry-free. Make it a good one.